This is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. On this episode of the MQP, Amy Gould from Eden on Fire. Amy Gould is a dynamic vocalist, keyboardist, and songwriter, best known as the founder and frontwoman of the symphonic melodic metal band Eden on Fire. Born and raised in Western PA, Amy's musical journey began in a small town with blue-collar roots. From a young age, she started writing and performing. Driven by her passion for music, after graduating high school, Amy ventured east as a music scholar, immersing herself in the vibrant music scene in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, PA. There she honed her skills and fronted several metal bands, leaving a lasting impact on the local music scene. I am happy to have Amy Gould join me here on the MQP. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Steve, so much for having me here. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
thanks for doing this, Amy. So let's start with, how did this band come together?
Back during the pandemic, I started writing a lot of tunes. I had been in a really bad relationship, a bad marriage for a lot of years, and I had just been completely out of the music scene. And I really had writer's block for a lot of years in terms of writing. And then I got out of that relationship and I was like, "Wow, okay, everything's cool again." And then the pandemic hit.
Mm,
So I had a lot of time to reflect and sit down at the piano, and it just all sort of came flowing. I wrote several of the tunes that are on the album at that time. And I had MIDI set up. So I was writing with MIDI and I was like, okay, this is as far as I can go with this. I need some members. So once things started to open up again, Scott Haggard and I met, and he started writing some bass lines for me. And shortly after that, we started looking for members. There was a couple of different versions of the band at first. We had a couple of different members that started with us. It just didn't work out. It was too much of a commitment for them. And then we had a different lineup that was part of the album. But the two members that left the band, they left at the beginning of the year. They felt like they really couldn't commit also to where we were headed, because we're sort of headed in a tour sort of fashion at this point. At least we're hoping to head that way. And they have a lot of other obligations, other bands that they're in, and family obligations. So now we're where we are today with the four of us, and it's a really good mix. We're finally sort of a band family, which is where I was trying to get, where everybody's sort of on the same page and we work really well together, and we've just kicked it up a notch. So it really was a culmination of me writing and wanting to do this again. It's sort of my last hurrah. I took a lot of years off and I'm back at it, and I'm like, this is it. This is my thing. And this is the first band I've actually ever written so much material for.
mm.
In the past, I've only ever really written vocals and lyrics. And now I'm actually writing full songs, and I'm coming to the band with full completed songs and saying, here, okay, let's take them. And, of course, we pick them apart and everybody gives input and they change. But it's primarily me doing a lot of the songwriting, which has just been awesome. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Amy, you said this is your thing. So what's the goal for the band Eden on Fire?
We want to take it as far as we can.
Mm,
We want to be rock stars. So,
yeah.
that's what we're trying to do. We want to take it to the big stadium shows if we can, as far as we can go. Everybody is on board with that, which is just phenomenal, because, it's hard to find a group of people that can commit to something of that level. We have to be realistic about it. We all have lives, we have jobs, we have things, because unfortunately, original music doesn't make a lot of money.
Mm,
So we all have to have side jobs, I call them. My day job is my side job. This is
yeah.
my career that makes me no money. um, but yeah, we want to keep going as far as we can.
The two newest members of the band, Steve and Connor, are they
Yes.
also from Erie?
Yes, they are, in the vicinity. Yeah, Connor's actually in Erie, and then Steve lives sort of a town away from Erie, but real close. So, in fact, we rehearse at his place, so about a half hour out.
Your album Unresolved came out in November of last year under DI Records. There are a
Correct.
couple of videos too. Um, Influences for you. I understand you have a love for 80s female fronted rock.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am an '80s child, so I
Mm,
grew up with the '80s music. I really had a lot of love for a lot of different types of music back in those days. But the female fronted rock bands of the time, and they started delving into some of the hair metal like Vixen and things like that, Lita Ford. But Pat
Yeah.
Benatar is my all-time idol. She's who since I was young, I think I gravitated towards her music, but I heard an interview one time about how she studied classically, and she was going to go to Juilliard and all these things. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be her. And I was really young at the
Mm.
time. So since then, I would stand in front of my mirror with my hairbrush and I wanted to be Pat Benatar. So she really influenced me in a lot of different ways, vocally and also just inspirationally. So I was really excited. I actually got to see her live for the first time, actually, just a couple of nights ago, which was really awesome. So I'm pretty excited about that.
With husband Neil Giraldo, of course, who gets
Yes,
the
absolutely.
co-billing now. Yeah, Pat
Yeah,
Benatar
yeah,
is from where
yeah.
I'm from on Long Island, in New
Oh,
York,
awesome.
originally. Yeah. Symphonic metal. I talked to a lot of European metal bands, huge over there, really is. It seems like every other band I talk to, whether it's Norway or Hungary, they're all part of or Germany symphonic metal bands. Describe this band's sound.
So it's really hard. I mean, I think we fit in closest to the symphonic, but we're not 100% symphonic. Epica is very symphonic.
Hmm.
Nightwish is very symphonic, but we have some of those elements. So that's where we sort of fit into that. But we have a very unique sound, I think. We're kind of all over the place. We have that 80s influence because of some of us in the band. But also we have some power metal in there. We have, good old classic metal, Judas Priest kind of feel. We hear that a lot, that,
Yeah.
Dio and Judas Priest, people are hearing that in our music.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of everything going on. And I like that. I like that nobody can pigeonhole us and be like, oh, you sound just like Evanescence, or you sound just like, Hailstorm, but we don't. We sound like our own. And I love that.
I want to talk about some of the tracks on the last album, Unresolved. As I was listening to and watching the videos, was it therapy for you coming out of a bad relationship?
Absolutely. Can you
Yeah.
tell?
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, in fact, I write what I feel. All of my lyrics are about something that's happened in real life, or how I'm feeling in real life at the time. I'm not good at writing stories that aren't meaningful. So, and it's funny because Connor, a guitar player, actually has another project and he does all fantasy stuff. So he says to me, I can't do what you do and I can't do what he does. So, um, but I definitely was working through a lot of things, Fallen, especially, you know, um, I'm trying to think, Parasite is an angry one. Some of those Broken, a lot of Love Bomb, another angry one. So yeah, I was kind of going through all that. And still today, we've got a couple new ones. Some of them, they aren't necessarily about love relationships. Sometimes they're about things that I'm dealing with as a musician. We've
Mm.
had some drama in the local music scene and things that have upset me. So there's a couple of songs that deal with that. So it's just what I'm feeling, and that's how I deal with it. So it definitely is therapy for me.
Amy, what's the story behind Broken?
So Broken is about being in a relationship with somebody who I really thought was getting it and was returning it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And they had a lot of issues going on at the time, and they were really letting me down. And so it was just about that feeling of like actually opening up yourself to somebody, and believing that this was it, and then they just completely let me down. So that was really about that devastation.
From that last relationship of yours.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you said you're writing some new music,
Hmm.
writing a lot of new music.
Yeah.
When can we expect the next album?
That's a good question. What we're trying to do right now is get, like I said, everybody caught up to speed. And so hopefully we'll be going into the studio, hopefully this summer, to lay down some more tracks. We were just actually in the studio recently and we're working on some things there. And then we're hopefully going to go back in this summer and start laying some stuff down. We want to make sure we have everybody really caught up so that we're nice and tight on the newer stuff. And then, and again, we're trying to balance it because we want to write. So I don't want to I told the new members, I don't want them to feel like they're in a cover band. So I want them to be able to come in. Also, we're letting them have a little bit of creative liberty with the songs that are already recorded. I'm letting them, make a couple of changes here and there. So as long as it's the song and it sounds like the song, you can change the drum parts, you can change the rhythm guitar parts. And obviously the solos are all different. That's fine. But they still don't have as much creative input in writing when that happens. So I'm trying to balance with learning the old stuff and starting to write new stuff so that everybody is part of the team and we're coming up with some new stuff. And I'm excited about that because I think our sound's going to change a little bit, but it's going to change for the better. And I think we're going to move a little bit more towards that symphonic sound than where we were before. It's not going to have maybe as much of an 80s feel as it did before. Our guitar player is a lot younger and he's got more of the power metal again, like I said before, and he's a shredder. So I'm excited about where we're headed.
So it sounds like so far with the two new members, it's really a collaboration between all of you and working out well so far.
Yeah. It was a scary thing to have happen after we started in 2021. And so we literally released this album. And then right after that, two guys left. And I was like, oh my gosh, here we are, but I kind of saw it coming. So I had sort of some ideas in place, like what to do. And thankfully, I was able to pick up a couple of people really quickly. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. You never know when something like that happens. You hear a lot of bands that they come out with the album and then it falls apart and that's the end of it. But I'm very, very persistent. So I wasn't going to let it die that easily. And thankfully, I found a couple of people that really are a good fit.
What is the music scene like in Erie and Western PA?
It's actually really good in Erie. Surprisingly, a lot of people think, oh, you probably don't have much. It's a small city. Music is thriving in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'd say the only challenge we really have there is the original music scene is a little bit less, but I think that's everywhere right now. Tribute bands are a big thing and cover bands. But you can pretty much find live music Wednesday through Sunday in Erie. And you can find it multiple places. As far as the original scene, it changes from day to day. We have venues that open and then a venue that closes. So for the metal, it's a little more difficult because there aren't as many places that are open to metal. I think we've been lucky because we are a little bit more accessible metal. So we're getting to a couple of venues some of the other metal bands don't necessarily get into. But so that's been very helpful for us. But overall, it really is a good music scene. And Western Pennsylvania in general, I think is about the same. Pittsburgh's been having some issues with losing venues as well. The Hard Rock Cafe just shut down. So yeah, I know we're having a lot of that happen. And I think it's just post-COVID world. It's funny, Erie especially, what is really interesting about it is it's early. So like all of our shows anymore start no later than like 8:00. Like a lot of them start at 6 or 7 and they're done by 11. So it's really a different world now since COVID.
Yeah, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and the club here, I just saw Mice and Men on Sunday night, and that's the only club that stays open. I mean, the headliners will go on at 9:30, sometimes 10, but it shuts down at 11 here too. It's a 9:00 town, really.
Yeah.
And I love Pittsburgh too. I have good friends there. I've been there a few times. It's a great town. All right, so we're talking about live music and playing in clubs. The big question, plans to tour for Eden on Fire.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we are in the process right now of a potential tour that's going to happen in August. So it's not a total done deal right now, but it's going to be an East Coast tour. It'll be a short tour, but it'll be like a week-long kind of thing. But we're ready to do it. It's just been a matter of logistics for us. So trying to make it work and also trying not to have to pay to play. So that's been the challenge. And that seems like that's always the challenge for us with original music, trying to find a way to go on a tour where we're not, losing the farm.
Losing money.
So,
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
know. It's so
exactly.
expensive. You're talking
Yeah.
back to the European bands that I've been talking to. I mean, when I ask them about touring the United States or even the Australian metal bands, they just tell me it's 5,000 a person. It's so they're in the hole going into it. It's
Yeah.
so costly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's only so much that exposure points can do for you.
Yeah. Right.
You still have bills to pay. So,
Right.
you're taking off work that does pay your bills to go do the tour. And so you need to at least pay for the expenses on the tour
Yeah.
with the tour money. So that's what we're trying to figure out right now and how that's all going to work. And hopefully that's all going to work out for us. And we will be doing this East Coast tour. So I'm kind of excited about that. And after that, we're hoping that's just going to be the beginning of that. We'd like to maybe pick up some sort of a touring agency to work with so that I'm not doing it myself.
Right. Right.
I'm wearing a lot of hats in this
You
band.
are. You are,
Love
Amy.
to outsource some things.
Do you have a dream place that you'd like to play?
Oh, yeah. Wacken,
Aachen.
Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, everybody's like, who knows about it wants to go there. But, really, I'm just excited to start playing like festivals, like the bigger festivals. I would love to play,
Mm.
any of the big festivals, Rocklahoma, like any of these kind of things that are going on. That's like our next step, I think, in terms of where we're going to go. So I'm excited. Every step to me has been like, this is a bonus,
Mm.
because you mentioned I had done this in Philadelphia years ago, and I never had a band that took off.
Yeah.
And but we played the local Philly scene, and it was fun, and I had a great time, and I learned so much. But I never got that far. And so every time we've gotten a little bit further in Eden on Fire, I'm just like, I'm doing this, I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting to me.
Baby steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Really is. Yeah. All right. We're going to end this, as I always do, with 5 questions for
Okay.
Amy Gould.
All right.
Favorite drink
Favorite drink. We talking alcoholic drinks?
or none if you don't drink
Oh,
alcoholic?
um, it's a toss up. If we're talking about a liquor drink, it would be a margarita on the
Mm.
rocks with salt.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, I love a good red dry wine. So
Mm. Nice.
a
Favorite
Cabernet.
good Cabernet. Yeah. Favorite
Yeah.
cover song of all time.
Oh, favorite cover song of all time. Oh boy. Um, Oh, that's a toughie. What do I like to listen to a lot? I like a lot of different music. Um, this is going to throw everybody for a loop. Probably because when I was a teenager, it was my all-time favorite, like slow song was Save a Prayer from Duran Duran. I
Mm.
love that song. I still
Wow.
love to hear it today.
Yeah. Your dream collaboration. Who would that be with?
Oh, Pat
Pat
Benatar.
Benatar. If you weren't in music, what would you be doing?
If I wasn't in music,
Yeah.
um, gosh, I've worn so many different hats in my lifetime prior to, well, alongside of music. I don't know. I have ADHD for real. And so like I get bored with things and I'm tired of this career. Let me move on to another one. Music's probably the only thing that's been consistent. I do have a bachelor's in psychology. So I don't know, maybe something in the mental health field. I feel like I give everybody therapy that I know anyway. So
And you remember the first concert you ever went to? Was it Pat Benatar?
it was not. It was Motley Crue.
Mm. In Erie?
No, that was in Philly.
In Philly.
I saw the Dr. Feelgood tour.
Nice. She is Amy Gould. The band is Eden on Fire. They're all over social. You can check them out there for updates too on more new music coming and tour information too. If they're coming to a town near you, yeah, like I said, they're all over Instagram. And EdenOnFire.com is the website. Amy Gould, thanks for joining me here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Steve. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And this is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. Thanks for watching.